Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. Hello everyone and welcome to another live stream with me, Grizzly. This is Grizzly True Crime, and today is Friday, May 1st of 2026, so happy Friday to you, happy May to you. Hope it's a great month. I also hope that the defense rests, as I can see you guys are still talking about the trial that we are following. We are going to be continuing to follow that trial next week. But for today, for now, let's focus on this case, which is actually a part 2. We've already done a deep dive in part 1 on the case of two University of South Florida students who went missing. And wow, the person they arrested, who was a roommate of the male victim. We're going to go over everything now quickly, just to recap. Sure, that guy is crazy. Oh my goodness. So go and check out part 1 if you haven't seen it before. Stay here with us now because, of course, you know, the sheriff, we're going to watch the press conference that happened today with some updates from that. So this is a follow-up from that. If you want to really deep dive, part 1's great because we read through the entire probable cause affidavit, and you know how Florida rolls. Sunshine State laws. Damn, there was a lot of detail in there. Like, the guy, Hisham Abugharbieh, that they arrested, oh, he's so screwed. He was looking up things on ChatGPT. He bought heavy-duty trash bags and all sorts of tools, and it's terrible. Okay, so let me just quickly, let's do a little recap like this, and then we'll watch the press conference as well. Also, if you are a YouTube member, we're going to have a members only live stream right after this live stream today, and then I'll tell you what we got up to today. And then I'm also going to post it on Patreon if you are there as well, so that you'll get the replay there. Okay, so Orlando, Florida, right? That's where the case takes place. And here's the biggest update. A body found in Tampa Bay has been identified as the second missing University of South Florida doctoral student from Bangladesh, a sheriff said Friday. Nahida Bristy's remains were found Sunday in a garbage bag discovered by a kayaker whose fishing line got snagged, said Hillsborough County Sheriff Chad Cronister. The positive identification on the badly decomposed body was eventually made using DNA and dental records. I've been waiting for this update, you know, since we did part 1 and went over the PCA, because the defendant in this case, Hisham Abugharbieh, was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. So they already had enough evidence to charge him with 2 counts of first-degree murder, but had not yet found Nahida's remains. And now they have, you know. So it's very tragic. It's better than not finding them, but so sad for the families, you know. So they said the body of her friend, fellow USF doctoral student Zamil Limon, was in another garbage bag that was found 2 days before that on a bridge over the bay. Limon's roommate, Hisham Abugharbieh, 26, was taken into custody the same day and faces 2 charges of first-degree murder. He's being held in jail since then on no bond, and Cronister said the suspect showed no emotion when investigators presented him with details of the killings. He was non-reactive, Cronister said. He was callous and showed no emotion when showed him the information we had. The 2 students were murdered around the same time and place, though detectives need to investigate further before they can decide that conclusively, the sheriff said. The sheriff said detectives didn't yet know a motive for the killings. I don't know either. I think it was pure jealousy if I had to speculate what his motive could have been. He said, I hope we find that out, Cronister said. Cronister said that content on Abugharbieh's phone had been erased, but a forensic examination revealed disturbing searches in the days before April 16th of 2026, when Bristy and Limon went missing. The searches included phrases like, can a knife penetrate a skull, and can a neighbor hear a gunshot? The suspect had also purchased Lysol wipes and heavy-duty contractor-grade trash bags and other equipment to keep some of that under his bed, which we read last time in the detailed PCA. The sheriff said this was calculating. That's what makes this so premeditated. And it was for days before, allegedly it was, for days before. He was searching things, he was buying things. It's like he was planning this all out, which is just next level crazy, right? So it said a search of the apartment that Abugharbieh and Limon shared with a third roommate showed large traces of blood in the kitchen, leading down the hall to Abugharbieh's room and inside his room, the sheriff said. The luminol-based spray even revealed blood in the shape of a human body curled up in the fetal position next to Abugharbieh's bed, he said. Limon was last seen at the off-campus apartment complex where he lived with Abugharbieh, and Bristy at a campus science building on the same day. Limon was studying geography, environmental science, and policy, and Bristy was studying chemical engineering. Abugharbieh had dropped out of university. Yeah, lots of other charges, hey? Reached by email earlier this week, Jennifer Spradley, an attorney in the public defender's office in Tampa, said the office wouldn't comment on Abugharbieh's case. Probably the best option to not comment. Let me show you this as well. So, thank you so much to Grizzly Cat for obtaining all the documents in this case, of which, damn, Florida, you're making it rain with documents. There's so many documents in this case so far, and we've already gone over the probable cause affidavit in part 1, as I said. So do check that out. I'll link it for you in the description box and the pinned comments after this live stream. All right, please like and share so others know that we are live right now as well. That will help a lot. Okay, so you can see murder in the first degree with a weapon, murder in the first degree with a weapon, 2 counts, right? That is what he's been charged with. I wanted to show you this because this is next level crazy as well. This was the day of his arrest. Yes. Remember when this guy, do you remember this guy was arrested wearing only a towel? Do you remember that video? Does that jog your memory? Oh my word, he came out of that house, out of his mama's house, wearing only a towel, and all we knew was that it was like a domestic incident that was called in. Well, then we got to learn a little more through these documents of what that was all about. Oh my, shame. And his poor sister, as in Hisham. You remember what he looks like, right? Yeah, his poor sister. Lawrence, thank you so much for your $2 sticker. I really appreciate your support. So check this out. On 4/24/26, the victim entered the master bedroom. Now, I'll just tell you, because when I first read it, I was a little confused. The victim is Hisham's sister. Like, dude, we're going to read now what he did to his sister. The state has said that they're not going to be filing charges. Let me just find a picture of this guy for you. Hold on one second. Oh, my word. Okay, that's huge. Listen here. Listen here. Let's make it smaller so we can actually see what the heck is going on here. All right. Sorry about that. I just want to resize it there. There he is. This guy. He's completely unhinged. I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. Okay, so you see him? You see him? All right. So it says, on 4/24/26, the victim, his sister, entered the master bedroom to retrieve personal hair products from the attached ensuite master bathroom. Upon entering the master bedroom, she left the bedroom door leading to the hallway open. The victim observed the defendant wearing only a towel around his waist, playing a video game. Okay, so after allegedly killing 2 people, you're just like, I'm going to go to mama's house. You know what I'm going to do? Play video games. Then I'm going to hit on my sister. So it says, as the victim exited the master bathroom, she was confronted by the defendant, who asked for a hug. The victim was giving him a side hug when the defendant grabbed the victim and held her against her will in a front hug. The defendant was attempting to kiss the victim on her lips and asking her to kiss him. The victim was able to push away from the defendant and retreated to the master bedroom door, where she found the door shut and locked. The victim was able to exit the master bedroom, retreat to her bedroom, where she locked the door and contacted her dad for help. The victim and the defendant have resided together in the past as a family, and the victim identified the defendant as her older brother and the person who committed the offense. Now, I think his charges are so serious right now, with the tampering of evidence and not reporting a death, and obviously 2 counts of first-degree murder, that sadly they're not actually filing charges here. Here they said in this letter, it says, after completing our investigation, carefully reviewing the facts and applying the applicable case law, the state attorney's office has elected not to file criminal charges at this time. So, shame. I'm sorry to that sister that happened. This is the PCA. Look at this. Just so you can see. You got it. You got homework. You got to go watch part 1. Look at this detail. Look at it. They literally put so much detail in here. We're like, damn, that's almost the whole trial in one document, right? Well, I'm sure they've got more, but you know what I mean. So this is the PCA that we've already gone through. and of course his mugshot. And the first appearance, he was in court. He's, being held on no bond. So now let me show you some clips that I've got for you. One, we're going to watch the press conference. Two, let's look at this one quickly. Okay, we're first going to look at this one.
Time. It's the first time it's happened with my whole family and relatives. We never faced this situation.
But the victims' families are not alone in their grief.
We want to know what happens with our friend's case. We feel ourselves responsible that we should be very closely integrated.
Limon and Bristy's friends filled the courtroom with an outpouring of support, saying they were Bristy and Limon's home away from home.
It is not acceptable and something that we are shocked that the place that is our safe place, our home, our own rooms, our own kitchens, they were murdered.
Hisham Abugharbieh is now held under no bond for the 2 murder charges he is facing. Court documents detail disturbing online searches and the purchase of black garbage bags similar to the ones Zamil Limon's remains were found in. His body was located at the Howard Franklin Bridge last week. Law enforcement has not confirmed Nahida Bristy's whereabouts.
This is just a compounded tragedy with the deaths of 2 USF students, and so we stand with their families in Bangladesh.
State Attorney Susi Lopez updating family and friends of the victims in court today, who are now left waiting for the justice system in America to carry out its course.
We love our nephew, so we want justice. We want death penalty.
And he probably will face the death penalty, being Florida, right? Oh my word. Okay, so there's that clip. There's one other one that I want to show you, which is this one, and then we're going to watch the press conference. Okay.
Abugharbieh didn't actually appear in court himself. He was represented by a public defender who waived his right to a pretrial bond hearing, so he will be staying behind
So he had his initial court appearance, and then there was another hearing, and so that's this update, right?
bars. The hearing itself was very short. The judge formally imposed the motion for no bond. Abugharbieh is facing several charges, including 2 counts of first-degree murder. And in the gallery, about a dozen of the victims' friends filled the courtroom. They told me they're here not only because they love these 2, but because their families back in Bangladesh can't be here.
It is a lot to process because, see, when we come here back from 8,000 miles away from home, they are our family or everything here.
The group of friends says they plan to be at every court hearing. The case will now go before a grand jury next week, and then the defendant will formally be arraigned and enter pleas. The state's attorney talked to me after the hearing. She said she is still reviewing the case to see if they plan to seek the death penalty. She also told me she was going to be jumping on a Zoom call with the victims' families back in Bangladesh to update them on today's.
Well, I don't think it's going to be difficult for this case to perhaps, where this defendant will face the death penalty. What he's accused of doing is next level. It's like such a danger to society. One can't even believe it. Okay, so here we go. Now we're going to watch the press conference that happened today. Okay, that's the reason I'm doing this live stream. I wanted to do an update. I wanted to let you know that Nahida's remains were found. And it took some time because they said unidentified remains were found, and I was waiting every day looking, what's the news? Did they identify these remains? What is going on? And the sheriff explains in this press conference why that took longer, than when they found Zamil's remains. So both victims' remains have been found, and the sheriff is actually going to recap a lot of what we went over in part 1, actually. So if you missed it, this is a good recap for you. I would still go watch part 1 because there's so much more detail there if you like details. I love details, I love documents, map time, and all of that. So this will be a good recap for everyone, as well as some new details. All right, so let's put this on here.
Everyone, this morning I'll be sharing information that needs to come with a strong warning. The details of this investigation are gruesome, and the actions of the suspect are nothing short of pure evil. But first and foremost, I want all of you to know who Zamil Limon and Nahida Bristy were. They were dedicated students and loyal friends. They were accountable and responsible, which is why when they didn't show up to meetings, stop answering calls, and missed appointments, their friends immediately knew something was very wrong. What began as a missing persons case ended with the discovery of a monstrous crime. Our community has been left heartbroken, and the victims' families shattered after this tragic loss. I'm going to walk you through this case, and I want you to know, I knew from the very beginning we had two options: to find them or find the truth. On April 17th, the University of South Florida Police Department was notified that our first victim, had been reported missing. This was very unusual. Like I'd mentioned, she was responsible. She never missed her thesis appointments. She never missed work. She was responsive. So the University of South Florida Department, who I have to thank for being absolutely an incredible partner, Chief Daniels, the University of South Florida President, thank you. Thank you for your help in this case. They immediately started looking back and creating a timeline of when she was last seen. Video that we collected from the last time she had left the office in the afternoon on the day prior, on the 16th. The next day, on April 18th, we get a phone call from a concerned friend of Zamil saying, hey, he also is very responsible, dedicated, responsive, didn't answer his calls, didn't show up to his appointments. Something's wrong. Working so closely like we do with the University of South Florida Police Department, we immediately notice when our missing persons detectives and the detective that they have working at the university realize that, hey, these cases are connected. We should work them together, and that's when this collaborative effort started. So our detectives believe that the first stop should be back at our second victim's residence.
So they're describing the investigative timeline now, as detailed in the probable cause affidavit. Also, the family has a GoFundMe, which I've linked in the description box for you, in case you want to check that out.
So we go to Zamil's residence, where he lives with two roommates. One roommate continues to be elusive. The stories are inconsistent, almost to the point where he will talk about anything, loves to talk about himself. And this continues and carries throughout the entire investigation, except when we want to talk about either one of our two victims. Then he immediately starts becoming elusive and deceptive. The other roommate, we learn very quickly that he wasn't involved, begins to become extremely cooperative. And at that point, he, at the initial stages, when this is still a missing persons case, notifies us that something's wrong. The doormat by the door's missing. There's some pots and pans missing. So our detectives, as hard charging as they are, their first stop is the dumpster. They learned that the trash compactor in the complex hasn't been emptied yet in these couple days. This is where we get the first break in our case. We go out there dumpster diving. These detectives getting inside of the dumpster and empty the entire.
This is amazing how they've got all this footage that I love Florida. You know, the way they do the documents, police interrogations, Sunshine State law. Look at all this footage that they're showing us in between this press conference. It's so well done, right? Can they do all press conferences like this? And we can hear, right? Let me not talk too soon. And I think we're going to hear the questions too well, but we'll give it a go.
Higher contents, and they find Zamil's glasses, his student ID, his wallet, and his clothes, which are extremely bloodied at the time. Again, this is where we get our first break. This is where, during this timeline, this missing persons becomes a missing person endangered case. Now we ramp up our efforts, because now we know, and you guys heard the same theory that we have that's been dispelled and unproven, that the two of them were in arranged marriage, that the two of them were in love, the two of them ran away together. We were able to dispel that immediately at this point, knowing that we're going a different direction. At the time, we believe that our now suspect was at just the point of interest. We needed more information. So we have enough evidence to get a search warrant. We go back to the residence and we serve the search warrant. And the search warrant's for the residents, for the roommates, both roommates' phones, for their person, and for their cars. They go into the residence, and we have some amazing technology, one of it being Blue Star that identifies the presence of blood. And when they deploy Blue Star, they can see in the kitchen area there's a large pool of blood. They see that the blood continues down the hallway and into our suspect's bedroom. The technology is so precise and finite that we can see the outline of a human being on the floor next to our suspect's bed where he was curled up in a fetal position. We then examine his phone. His entire history had been wiped clean. No text messages, no emails, no GPS data. His search history totally cleared. So it takes us a little bit of time at that point because we have to do a forensic deep dive onto the phone. And what we found by doing a forensic deep dive is where we found a lot of disturbing searches.
Uncle Google's gonna get ya, is what he means, but also ChatGPT in this case. My goodness, the questions that this defendant, Hisham, I see they're pronouncing it differently this time. It was Abugharbieh at first. I practiced that. Now they're saying it all kinds of different ways. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing it correctly. The defendant. Wow. We went over so many of his ChatGPT searches from that PCA and everything. So yeah, even though he pulled a bit of a Stefan Stearns there, factory reset his phone, clearly deleted everything. Yeah, no, they were able to, extract a whole lot. He was, though, successfully able to wipe all the information from his vehicle's infotainment system. But I do wonder if there's going to be digital forensic evidence to show that he watched a YouTube video of how to do that. You know what I mean? Because that'll be evidence in itself. So the digital evidence in this case, it's going to be a lot.
He searches for, can a knife penetrate a skull? Can a neighbor hear a gunshot? Can you bury a body in a trash bag and throw it in a dumpster? While he's conducting these searches, we also see and discover that he's making purchases for large, heavy-duty black contractor bags, Lysol wipes, duct tape, lighter fluid, a lighter.
Some of that was new details, not in the PCA. A lighter fluid, lighter, duct tape when you buy. Oh, but not from Walmart, you guys, not that we know of so far, okay? From Home Depot and DoorDash, I think it was. Is it DoorDash? DoorDash is not just for food, right? What's the other one? It was delivered. Something was delivered to his home, and also he went shopping at places like Home Depot. We haven't heard of Walmart in this case yet.
As he's ordering some of the items from Amazon, some of them come from DoorDash. I want everyone in the room to think about this. These searches were conducted days before our two victims went missing. This was calculated. This is what makes this so premeditated. We then look at him. He's got a laceration to his left pinky, and on the back of his left tricep, he has a deep laceration where...
Nah, sir, he said it's from cutting onions, okay? And then when they asked him, okay, so you were cutting onions, you say, huh? What were you making? He's like, I don't remember. The stories that this guy, the defendant, can come up with, oh my word.
He should have been properly sutured. He should have went and got stitches. He was unable to explain where he got those, what we believe is defensive wounds. At that point, we turned to the car. In the trunk, very little blood. On the floorboard of the passenger side of his vehicle, again, deploying Blue Star technology, we see a large amount of blood there. We later find out that that's Nahida's blood. That comes back to her. The GPS in the car, once again, wiped totally clean. While we're conducting this forensic deep dive on his phone to see where he had been days prior, we're able to determine that he had traveled over to Clearwater, the Sand Key area, We confirmed that by looking at a video surveillance from a nearby fire station that shows him get out of the car. He's around the San Key area over in Clearwater. He spends a short amount of time there. Then as we're examining the longitude and latitude coordinates, we see he goes on the Howard Franklin Bridge and he stops there for a short amount of time. So at this point, we make the decision to launch a surge full of manpower to go out and start an extensive search. Knowing that he spent an amount of time there, we should find and locate our victims there, because we believe, again, he's not a suspect, he's a person of interest. We let him go. Yes, he's under 24-hour surveillance, but we're conducting this exhaustive search now at this point. Our Marine unit, our divers, who continued nonstop, our investigators, our professional staff that were out there helping any way they could, our aviation team, our drone team, again, nonstop. As some of our detectives are examining the latitude and longitude of some of where he had been, they're traveling northbound on the Howard Franklin Bridge, on the Pinellas side of the bridge, and they see a large black trash bag sitting on the shoulder of the road all by itself. They stop. They walk up, and as they're approaching it, they immediately smell that unique smell of human remains when it's in that decomposition phase. They go up, they physically feel the outside of it, and realize that there's human remains there. They stop what they're doing, knowing that this could be evidence. We're in Pinellas County at this point. And they contact the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, who immediately responds, along with the Pinellas County Medical Examiner's Office, who takes custody of this bag and goes back. We learned during this that it is our victim, Zamil. We're able to determine that because he's in the early stages of decomposition. So we knew it was him through fingerprints that were obtained through the Department of Homeland Security when he had entered the country.
Shame, and only 27 years old, you know?
When I talk about gruesome, he had been stabbed several times, which ultimately was the cause of his death. He was bound in front at his hands and at his ankles. His legs up towards his buttocks area was almost completely severed, so he could be bent together and make it easier to place in a trash bag. He was left on the side of the road. As gruesome as this murder was, he was literally left on the side of the highway like a piece of trash. As we're out there and this is occurring, and remember, this investigation's large, it's expansive, and it's very fluid and very dynamic. As this is occurring, we get a phone call from our suspect's family that the night before he had battered and committed domestic violence against them. He had been acting erratic. He got out of the shower with only a towel wrapped around him. He approaches his sister and begins to almost in like a humping fashion trying to grind on his sister, and at one point tries to kiss his sister. His sister has difficulty trying to push him away, and she is not able to freely leave that confrontation because he's able to overpower her. He batters the family at the same time. So we try to make contact with him. We know he's inside the residence, the family tells us, and we have him under constant surveillance. We know he's there. He refuses to answer the phone. He refuses to come out. We make the decision based on the violent nature that we know this individual is capable of. At the same time, we learn that a few days prior, he had purchased a firearm from a pawn shop. Now, later on, we determined that he never picked up that firearm, but we didn't know that. We didn't have that information at the time. Again, very dynamic, very fluid. So we activate our SWAT team and negotiators to try to bring this to a peaceful resolution. After several hours of trying to make contact.
Oh, damn. There he is. This is the arrest video. Several hours of trying to make contact. Here he comes out of the house, coming out of Mama's house with a towel, getting arrested. Yes, Bianca T said this press conference is very thorough and descriptive, right? It's an amazing press conference. Pauline said amazing press conference. They really cover it all. Yes.
We're at the point where we made a determination we're going to go in and physically remove him from the house, place him under arrest. right about that point, as you guys have seen the video and are watching the video now, he surrenders peacefully and he's placed under arrest without incident. At that time, we begin conferring with the state attorney, who has been there since moment one, walking through this. And we're able to charge him with a bunch of charges that, at that point, later on, charge him ultimately with the two premeditated murders of our two victims. So at this point, the search still continues. We still need to find Nahida. We still need to locate her.
Nahida Bristy.
So we're still conducting that search. We get a phone call 2 days later that two recreational kayakers are out again on the Pinellas County side.
Okay, so listen, because this was breaking news today. This moment right here. Because this is what we've all been waiting for since, talking about the case, since it happened, since part one. Just like where is Nahida? And are they going to be able to find her or not? What's going on? Because they said they found unidentified remains close-ish to where they found Zamil's. So here's the update now, okay?
And while this is occurring, the deputies in Marine Unit are doing a great job trying to determine the tide and when they're occurring and what the tide patterns are to see, hey, how far of a search pattern do we need? The divers are still in the water. As you guys were out there covering, it was a long several days as we were trying to locate our two victims, especially now knowing that we have one victim, the other one should still be in the nearby area. As one of our kayakers is fishing, his fishing line snags on a bag. He has to go further into the mangroves. He smells something, as he describes as undescribable. And when he went and got closer to remove his fishing line, he sees that a plastic bag has been opened. There's been salt water in there. He can't tell what it is, but it looks like a human body. So he does the right thing and contacts law enforcement. We immediately relocate over there, contact the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office Marine Unit that's already out there with us, the Pinellas County Medical Examiner, Pinellas County Forensic Science Department, who came out and took custody. Unfortunately, because of the conditions that her body was left in, it was more in those advanced stages of decomposition, and we weren't able to just do a fingerprint. So that's what took longer. Today, I'm able to confidently stand in front of you and tell all of you that we have located Nahida Bristy. We have contacted her family.
Nahida Bristy. Shame, he says Nahida, but her name is Nahida and Bristy, and they've located her remains. That's the breaking news right now. Wait, somebody, Chicken Tender, you said it seems like he had some kind of mental break. Nah, he's got a pattern of violence. If you go check out part one, we went over, I'll just recap. In May of 2023, he was arrested on a misdemeanor battery charge, simple battery that stemmed from a domestic violence incident involving his brother and mother. Police responded to a family argument where Abugharbieh allegedly attacked them after being asked to leave the home. He reportedly made erratic statements claiming, "I am his God." He was arrested on the battery charge and placed under Florida's Baker Act for mental health evaluation. So then already they were looking, but that violence was there from early 2023. And here we are in, this double homicide being committed in April of 2026. Also in September of 2023, he was charged with misdemeanor battery and burglary of an unoccupied dwelling. And then in 2023, he also faced multiple battery-related arrests that same year. And there's also around the same time when he had seemingly dropped out of the university where he attended previously, the University of South Florida, which is where the two victims were attending university. So that's why I speculate the motive could be like total jealousy that they're doing well at university. A family member said that Nahida and Zamil were not dating at the time. They had dated previously. They had previously discussed maybe one day getting married or something, but they were just friends at the time. And it seems like Nahida was visiting with Zamil because her shoes were found at the house. And remember that the defendant was a roommate of Zamil. So if he arrived, I don't know why he was still living there as well. And then he got arrested at his mother's house, right? So if he arrived home after doing who knows what, because he wasn't in university anymore, And maybe he saw them talking to each other in Zamil's room. I don't know. If he went into a rage, if he got jealous, if he already was thinking these two, because this was premeditated. Maybe he was jealous for a while, thinking they're doing so well at university, they've got it all. I'm just speculating, because I have no idea how someone can plan this to this level with that background of violence. I mean, it's for what? To me, the only thing that makes sense is jealousy, but I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? What do you think it is?
We are now actively working to release both bodies for religious reasons back to the families who live in Bangladesh. We were able to determine that this was Nahida. Unfortunately, couldn't do it because of fingerprints, but we did it because of DNA. We were able to confirm DNA, some dental work that she had done, and the clothing that she still had on from the video that we saw the April 16th when the University of South Florida Police Department narrowed down was the last time that she was observed on campus. I want to take just a moment and close with some thank yous. This is a result. When you stand here and talk about the success of a case, obviously we all wish the definition was success is that we would have located both of them alive and that we wouldn't be standing in front of the cameras. But when you look at the good old-fashioned police work, and part two is the partnership and collaboration that we share with surrounding agencies, surrounding counties, state and the federal level. That's the reason I'm able to stand in front of you today and talk about the success in terms of recovering both of these victims, hoping that the family members will get some semblance of comfort and peace now, knowing what happened to their family members and that they are returning home to be buried by their loved ones. The collaboration has been phenomenal. The University of South Florida Police Department that we constantly work with, phenomenal job, seamless transition on this case. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, Sheriff Galtieri, thank you. Thank you to you and your entire team for being out there with us in the hot, long days and never giving up in this search. The Pinellas County Medical Examiner's Office for acting so quickly so we could determine who they were, and again, for religious reasons, get them returned back to Bangladesh to their families. The Pinellas County Forensics and Science team that came out, once again, phenomenal job in doing such a job. A phenomenal job in providing us the information that we're able to turn to the state attorney's office, which leads me to my next expression of gratitude. State Attorney Susie Lopez, you and your team were there from the very moment we decided that and determined that these individuals were endangered. You were out there, your entire team, your lead prosecutor, wonderful job. Thank you for your continued partnership. And lastly, to the men and women of the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, those who worked 18, 19 hours a day, around the clock, never giving up. It's your grit, your determination, your passion that allows us to stand up here today and be able to announce the success of this investigation. Now, I want all of you to know that there are a lot more details to share, but I'm not able to share them now. Yes, our suspects in custody, the victims are on their way being returned to their families, but there's a lot of investigation that still continues and has continued to this point. A lot of deep dive records, a lot of subpoenas that we're waiting for answers for that may result in additional charges.
Damn. I mean, that PCA probable cause affidavit was so detailed. You have more, Sheriff? You got even more? I mean, I'm sure they do, but are you going to release that? Damn. If there's any other updates, of course, I will keep you posted. And if they show this trial, of course, we can watch it together whenever that might be, right?
Forthcoming. Again, I can't comment further because I never want to attack the integrity of the investigation that these hardworking detectives continue to do.
Sure. Just forgive the bluntness of the question, but what's the motive?
Great question.
Question, what's the motive? That was the question. So the questions are a little quiet, but the rest of the press conference is great.
The question is, what's the motive? That's part of what we're still trying to determine. At this point, we don't know what the motive is. The why, we don't know yet. We're still working. I know that after briefing and meeting and being briefed with the detectives yesterday, they're anxiously searching for that as well. You search for the truth, And second to that is you search for the why. And I hope we find that out.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a combination of jealousy, maybe wanting to be with Nahida, maybe she didn't want to be with them, so jealousy, substance abuse, and a mental health factor. I wouldn't be surprised if it's all of those things combined, right? So yeah, Stefan said, and the sheriff repeats the question. He's a pro. I know, right? Yes. Thank you, Sheriff.
Is it a romantic relationship? Is it friend? Just how far can you go in establishing?
Yeah, it's not me trying to conceal it. We don't
They talk about what was the relationship between the victims.
know. We know that they're very religious, that they come from a culture where marriages are arranged. We're not aware of a romantic relationship to this point. We knew that that was a theory. At one point, our suspect even gave us that theory that they were in a romantic relationship. He went from, I hadn't seen them, to finally admitting when we revealed and showed him that, well, hold on, your GPS said this. Well, I dropped them off. Yeah, but you went on the other side of the bridge. And then you came on this side of the bridge. Well, I stopped and dropped them off, then I'm on the other side of the bridge, and then I walked up just to wave goodbye to them.
He said he went fishing, remember? Just went to go, look at the fish a little bit. Also, it was actually, I think it was Nahida's brother that spoke to the media. He's done a few interviews. We looked at some of the quotes and also a clip of it in part 1, where he was quoted saying that the two victims, Nahida and Zamil, had dated in the past, but that they were not currently dating at the time of the crime. So that's what we know from family members, right?
I mean, this is someone very calculated, but...
Has the suspect said anything admitting to this?
No, the suspect would love to talk to our detectives about everything, right up to the point where we were asking about our two victims. I think the concerning part is that he was non-reactive. He was callous and showed zero emotion. Even when we confronted him with information that we had, he evoked and didn't want to answer any more questions. Never showed any emotion.
Do you have any indication if were the two victims at the residence when the murders happened, and were they murdered around the same time, or was one there and then someone else showed up or something?
Yeah, the question is that do we believe that both victims were murdered around the same time inside the residence? Yes, I don't want to say unequivocally right now. I want to remain someone who's in the fact business. That's a speculation business. But we believe based on the data that we have, and again, that's part of the investigation that will continue. Timeline-wise, location-wise, yes, we believe that's the case, but I can't say with entire certainty at this point. We're still working through that.
Okay. Did the local reporters not read the PCA yet? Or maybe they can't say it definitively like that. However, they did say that Nahida's shoes were found in Zamil's room and that DNA evidence at the house, blood evidence, shows that she was there. So I think she was there. Also because Nahida had communicated. Now, I know I'm speculating and the sheriff can't say it just like, yes, she was definitely there. I get that. I'm just saying I'm surprised by the reporter's question because there's so many details in the probable cause affidavit, right? Which thanks to Grizzly Cat for obtaining that for us, right? We got that very early. Shame. Some of the family members even emailed and like, what? Wait, you get all that? Could you send us a copy? Shame. They heard it here first. Man, I feel for families when they, hear details like that here first. Anyway, so they did find a lot of evidence at the home, as well as text messages between the two victims and where each one was last seen. And it seemed like they were planning to meet up. So I think so.
I just want to add to that. I know you were saying that we're still working to figure out whether they were murdered at the same time, but it said that she was missing from her place of work and he was missing from his apartment. How did she end up in his apartment to then be a part of this murder investigation?
Because they texted each other and they were going to meet up? Okay, anyway, let's hear the answer.
Yeah, we believe by looking at text messages, and I'll see how much I can answer without trying to be elusive, that they...
My only question is, Sheriff, why being elusive? It's all there. It's public record. It's in the PCA. Okay, never mind. Let's see how he answers.
We were communicating.
Yeah.
Her last communication. What they used, instead of using text messages, which you'll be charged an international fee, they wanted to save money, so they were communicating through Facebook Messenger.
Facebook Messenger and maybe WhatsApp.
And we have those messages back and forth, so that's what leads us to believe that they were together at some point and that they were both at the residence at that point. We can look back and see what time we knew that she had left and what time her and Zamil were communicating back and forth. Again, I can't say we're certain, we're confident. We believe and feel that they were together and that they were.
Sir, we know you got the cell phone pings, okay? We heard about the digital forensic evidence, and we know, is the FBI involved? Probably, right?
Murdered in nearby proximity and around the same time frame. But again, I just don't want to be misleading in case that turns out for some crazy reason that's not the case.
Sheriff, you talked about a lot of digital evidence that was very disturbing with the ChatGPT responses and questions that he was sending. Do you believe that ChatGPT should be informing law enforcement when they see searches like this?
Absolutely. I think we should. We're seeing this be a pattern of behavior.
Hold on. There was a very interesting press conference I watched the other day with, oh man, what is that guy's name? Is it the mayor in Florida? I can't remember. It was a very interesting press conference where they announced that they were filing lawsuits against ChatGPT for answering questions because there was a shooter who had apparently asked ChatGPT all sorts of questions and planned what he did with the help of ChatGPT. Now, we've already covered 2 or 3 cases recently here at Grizzly True Crime where the defendants were using ChatGPT to ask all sorts of questions. So that was interesting that they're actually going to sue ChatGPT, and Florida's doing it. They're the first to do it, to say this is not okay. You cannot help people like plan a murder, you know?
When people are committing the FSU shooter, wanting to know the best way and what best weapons to use to be able to commit a mass shooting. To this, and there's some other examples that the media has been highlighting recently. I think it should be no different than on Meta, Facebook, and everything else. They find something disturbing, they notify us. I will tell you this: they've been cooperative. We've subpoenaed them.
Yeah.
The forensic.
There you go. They say ChatGPT is being cooperative in this case, and they subpoenaed them and they got what they needed. It was Florida's Attorney General that announced that a criminal investigation has been launched into OpenAI and ChatGPT. That was 10 days ago, and you could find it on Fox 13 Tampa Bay or the local news in Tampa Bay. I will link that for you. We have not watched that together. But that was a very interesting press conference, and I expect more of that to probably happen.
That we're able to get isn't able to go back, but only so far. We're hoping they'll continue to be cooperative and give us the rest of his searches. And again, that will help us with this case even more. This might even help us provide that why that we're all searching for.
How was the suspect able to transport the bodies from simply his apartment to the Howard Franklin Bridge without being caught?
I don't think that it would look abnormal or out of place. His roommate told us that he had used, there's a cart that a lot of college students live in this apartment complex, and he used one of the carts. They had seen the cart was missing, so he used the cart to transport the bodies to his car. Once they're in their car, you know, how do you see the inside of a car when you're driving or you're a passerby? We also believe this was late at night. It was at dark when he decided to do this. From information we have, we believe it to be after 11 p.m. at night. So there wouldn't be a lot of people in the area. It would be dark. It would be a little more appropriate as he, I think, chose that time to try to dispose of the bodies, knowing that there's less people around. There's less people on the highway, less people in his apartment complex, making it more easily concealable.
I assume that the roommate wasn't there when the murder happened, when the killings happened, but how suspicious was the roommate, and were there steps taken to hide this from the roommate that the roommate could see through?
No, the second roommate's been extremely cooperative. He's the one that gave us the details that ultimately led us to our.
But I mean, was the second roommate suspicious of what had happened? I mean, how much had they seen in the apartment that made them say, wait a minute?
No, I think he wasn't home. He knew that some of our suspect behavior was erratic. Some of the statements he made all the time were disturbing. He didn't understand that.
And then he also said that other roommate, because it was Zamil and this Hisham, the defendant, and another roommate, right? The other roommate said, there were things missing. When he got home, there were things missing, like the welcome mat and pots and pans and items from the apartment. So he'd noticed that immediately and was definitely concerned about that.
Students had even asked the apartment complex to move him out of their apartment. They were concerned. There were several complaints made to the apartment complex because of his pattern of behavior being disturbing and the comments that he would make.
What are your thoughts for two people who came halfway around the world to get a better life and to get an education and to come to a great school, and they wind up going back in body bags like this?
This contradicts everything what Florida and the United States stands for. People come here because everything is better here than in anywhere else in the world. And to have to make contact with the families and tell them that their loved ones are missing, to call them back later again and tell them that we found them, but they're deceased, and then to describe some details that they wanted to know, how they were killed because they were stabbed as many times as they were, it goes against every grain that Americans stand for.
Sheriff, you mentioned that when Zamil was discovered that he was bounded. Do you know if that was pre or post-mortem that he was bounded?
At this point, I wouldn't want to speculate. I didn't ask the detectives that, only that they found him in that condition.
I would assume before he was killed, he was bound. They said the question was about the male victim, Zamil. His hands and legs were bound. And so the question was, do you think that happened before he was murdered or after? Which is a little bit of an insensitive question. Hey, sorry about that. I know it's factual, but still. I would think before, you know.
Anything I'd say would just be speculative, and I don't want to be that person.
Sheriff, were these three roommates individually assigned before they began living together in this unit?
They were. They were all individual. And the way that this housing's set up is being described to me is there's a large common area, and then they each have their three rooms where they're able to lock the door and have the privacy there.
What advice do you have to other students that might be worried that their apartment complex isn't taking their complaints seriously?
Yeah, that's a great question. The question is, what should University of South Florida or any college student do if they have suspected behavior and believe that their safety is in danger and the apartment complex isn't taken as serious? Contact law enforcement. Even better so and more so, I've talked to the University of South Florida president about this. Contact the University of South Florida or any university. Contact the school administration. The school administration contracts with these complexes saying, okay, here, you meet certain standards and we're going to recommend that students be housed there. After talking to the University of South Florida president, he's made it clear that he's going to visit, his administration is going to visit all complexes. And if they don't adhere to a particular code of conduct and what their standard, he's going to stop recommending them as places where students should seek housing.
Have you ever heard about that suspect's erratic behavior before?
We have not. We have not. He does have a criminal history that we provided to you, a domestic against his brother, and at some point in a separate complex, he had entered an apartment that wasn't his, and when they caught him inside the apartment, he pushed one of the maintenance workers down, and that was a charge. It's criminal history, but...
What was he doing? He sounds completely unhinged. Really dangerous. I mean, clearly now. I just mean even before this. You know? What is he doing in somebody else's apartment? Is he a voyeur? Huh?
No erratic behavior that's been notified to us prior to this incident.
To clarify, I mean voyeur turned burglar turned now killer. Allegedly.
No, but a toxicology report wouldn't be back that quick. That's certainly, again, I hate to defer, I'm not that person. But again, there's so much that's still ongoing and that's yet to be determined. I wanted to get in front of all of you today to tell you what we had. I think Chief Maurer did a wonderful job throughout the week, and every time we had something with our public affairs office, we wanted to put it out. We wanted to make sure we were fully transparent and we were given little pieces. The intent today was now give you this whole overview. From A to Z, I wanted to show you everything. Let's put it all together now and where we're at today.
And that's it.
Thank you guys. Have a wonderful and safe day.
Excellent press conference. Thank you to Sheriff Chad Cronister. That was very well done. Man, I'm so sorry to the families of Nahida Bristy and Zamil Limon. What a terrible loss. What a brutal murder, double homicide. you know, of two close friends who were studying. I mean, so young as well. It's beyond. So we shall see if the state decides to file, you know, that they're going to seek the death penalty against this defendant or not. We'll see what happens next. The next is an attorney conference that's happening on the 7th of May of 2026. That's the next court date at 11 a.m. So we have that. So what I've done now, just so that you know, is I have linked the Attorney General's press conference, which is called Florida Launches Criminal Investigation into OpenAI and ChatGPT. So you can watch that if you want to. I've also linked the GoFundMe for the families in the description box as well. So you can find everything there. Just expand. If you don't know where the description box is, just click more under the video. I also look forward to reading your comments because I can't read them all while we're here, but I try to, right, see what you guys are saying. But I look forward to reading your comments to hear what your thoughts are on this case and sending condolences to the family and friends of these two beautiful people. Thank you all for being here to study this case with me. Again, if you missed part 1, please do go check that out if you like details, because, you know, we like details over here in general. And now what we're going to do is redirect to a YouTube members live stream where I will just tell you a bit about my day today. You know, what I got up to, where I went. I think I told you guys yesterday when we were still watching the trial that today I wouldn't be going live, but then, you know, I saw this press conference and this massive update, and I definitely wanted to cover that right away. So thank you for being here with me as we did that, and I will most certainly see you in the next one. Stay safe.